A good force is one in which the volunteer 100% believes that they had a free choice, and each of these 7 forces fits that bill. Let's get into it. Okay, to make this a lot easier to follow along, I'll be forcing the ace of spades in each one of these techniques. Okay, so this first one is actually a breakless dribble force. Okay, so what's going to happen is you have somebody say stop. Once they do, they look at their card. In this case, it's the ace of spades. Now, like I said in the beginning, the person has to be 100% convinced that it was a free choice, and so using the cleanest method, you can achieve that. In this case, I spare no expenses because I'm using a gimmicked card, okay? And that gimmick is, of course, a thick card. It's a double card. All you do here is take 2 cards and double stick them together with double stick tape. Okay, so just put some tape along the edges here like this, as close to the edges you can get the double stick tape, and just stick another card on there like this, so there is 2 cards thick. That way you have a thick card. Now what you do is put that on top of the deck and put your force card on top of that. Now what you want to do is begin an overhand shuffle and shuffle about a third of the deck on top of those like this. That way your force card and that thick card is in the middle of the deck. So having a thick card, when you dribble, you're always going to stop on that thick card no matter what. You'll feel it, all right? So it's a feel thing, and it's automatic. You'll get it every time. Now, if you wanted to force the face down card, you'd have to force the actual thick card, which I don't like. So this thick card can just be a joker or whatever. All right, so it'll always be the card above the thick card that you're forcing. Okay, so once again, they say stop, and it happens by itself. Okay, it's the easiest force in the world. Alright, so this next one is a riffle force in which you actually stop at the place that they call stop. So for instance, if they said stop maybe right here, you actually lift them up where they said stop and you forced the card that you wanted, in this case the ace of spades. Now again, if you want to achieve a clean force like this where they really believe and they have no suspicions of trickery, that they really truly honestly believe that it's the card they chose, then you have to employ any means necessary to achieve that cleanliness. Alright, so in this case I'm using a joker from a stripper deck, which means half of the card is tapered, so when you put this into the middle of the deck, what's going to happen is that you can stop on it automatically no matter what happens. Okay, so using that short side of this card up here, you just stop right on it with a riffle. Alright, so when you riffle and they say stop, you're always going to have this nice break that you can lift up cleanly and give them the card, okay? So do me a favor, say stop anytime, stop. Alright, take this card, I won't look, and look how clean that is. You just can't get that with a standard riffle force. Alright, so this next one is one in which it's kind of hands off, so those are always the best ones to use, and we don't even touch the deck and they do everything. Alright, so you say to them, look, just reach down and cut off maybe a little bit of cards, like this many, it's up to you. Alright, so they'll do that, and then you just put these back on top here. And they really could have cut anywhere in this deck, but I'll turn it around just so I can't see anything, and just in case anybody else saw something, just burn that top card somewhere in the middle of the deck. Same thing with the bottom card, just so that nobody has any idea what card you're looking at. Now when you're done doing that, take a look at the top card and see what you got here. In this case, they have the ace of spades. Look at that. Alright, so for this force, you're going to use a clean demonstration packet ruse with no break, and the way you achieve that is with a breather crimp. Alright, so it can just be the joker, the same joker you use for the riffle force, the stripper deck card, right? So the force card goes third from top of the deck, so your force card is on top, any random card, and then your breather crimped card goes on top of that. So your force card, third from top, and then your breather crimp is on top. Now what you do here is overhand shuffle about a quarter of the deck from the bottom like this. Just chop off a quarter from the bottom and shuffle these on top and just put the deck down. Now you ask them, look, just reach down and cut off a little bit of cards like this. And this is your demonstration packet. You just cut to the crimp, all right? So on top of the deck now, on top of here is actually that random card plus that ace of spades here, right? So when they do their cut, say about this many, it's up to you. And so they'll do that and just slap these back on top. Now you turn away at this point and you say, well, just in case anybody saw anything, I don't want to look. So just burn the top card, put the top card in the middle somewhere. Same thing with the bottom card. Now just to make it completely random, look at the top card and remember it. And you can, at this point, you can have them shuffle it back in. It's up to them or up to the trick, and then put these in the middle, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously you know what the card is because it's the force card. So for this next force, somebody can really say stop on any card, okay? So as I do this, just say stop anytime you want. All right, maybe right here. All right, take a look at your card, and it's the force card. All right, so I love this force, and this is called the Lazy Seconds Force by Aussie Wind. All right, so what you're doing here is it's kind of like a push-off second deal in blocks. All right, what I mean by that is you will sort of push over a block of cards, maybe about, a half dozen or so, maybe 6 or 7 cards. And when you do that, you want to dip your hand down like this. That way, when you push off a block of cards like this, you can just scoot this top card back like this and just take these cards out like this. So the exposed view is like this. So you're like here, as I drop cards like this, just say stop anytime you want. So you're just doing that each time, and gravity helps here. You're just keeping your thumb on top of that card each time you push cards over and just pulling it right back. So it's a lot easier than a second deal, hence the name Lazy Seconds. But if you really don't want to do any work, like I said, gravity helps. So dipping that hand down and just letting gravity do all the work is such a great. It's so easy, and it looks very deceptive. So you want to have your back towards the audience, the back of your hand towards the audience, of course, when you're doing this, so they can't see what's actually happening, right? So again, as I do this, just say stop anytime. And look how good that looks. It just looks like you're doing what you're doing, and they say stop, and it's the force card. Okay, so this next one is a force that I developed, and I call it the Handout Force, and it looks like this. So do me a favor, as I go through cards like this, just say stop anytime you want. It's up to you. So maybe they stop, maybe, I don't know, right here. So do me a favor, hold out your hand like this, and take a look at your card. I won't even look. And of course, it's the force card. Now what's happening here is a move called the Thumb Off Switch by Bruce Servan. And the cool thing about this force is that if somebody sees the actual move, it doesn't really matter because it still looks good anyway. Okay, so the force card is on the bottom of the deck. Okay, so what's going to happen is you begin swing cutting small packets into your hand, and after maybe a couple or so, maybe when you have a quarter of the deck in your hand, just start doing single cards like this and have them say stop anytime. And that's just on the bottom the whole time, so it just stays there. Alright, so when they say stop, you just put these cards, this top packet here with the ace on the bottom, sort of side jog like this and keep them there with your thumb like this. And when you do that, you say, stop right here, do me a favor, hold out your hand like this. And that's sort of like, interrupts them. It's a clouding question, as Roberto Giobbi says, right? So you put these here, do me a favor, hold out your hand like this. And then as soon as they do that, you just drag this card from the bottom off with your fingers like this, as if you just thumb that off. But really, that's what's happening. So it looks like you creating the vibe that you just thumb that top card over from here, but it's really that bottom card that's being dragged off onto here like this. So hence the name the thumb off switch, right? So you're here and that happens, right? But it's really that bottom card there. But like I said, even if they do see this, it still looks good. It looks how it should, all right? So they hold up their hand like this and sort of dip down like this so they can't really see what's happening anyway. Hold your hand and I'll put this card right there on your hand, and then of course is the force. Okay, so for this force, somebody really can just touch the back of any card they want to. So maybe they go for, I don't know, that one right there. But that really could have been any one of these. And so do me a favor and just remember your card, I won't look, and shuffle the deck. And obviously that was the force, and that is the Touch Force by Gary Owlett. Now, normally you would have to hold a break for this force, but what I like to do is, of course, my favorite thing in the world, which is our pencil dotted card. All right, so all you do here is take maybe a pen or a pencil, it doesn't really matter, and just dot the corners of the white borders. That way, when it's in the spread, you can easily see it when you spread the deck, okay? So it's sort of like a key card in that sense. Now what happens for this force is that you want to have it somewhere in the middle of the deck, maybe a little bit lower, okay? So you can do that just by a quick overhand shuffle, so that's in the middle of the deck, all right? So the great thing about this is, like I said, you don't have to hold a break, all right? So begin spreading some cards like this, but don't go too far because you don't want them to touch a card below the ace. You want to have them touch a card above the force card, okay? So somewhere above the middle, okay? So do me a favor, just touch the back of any one of these cards like this, and they'll touch one, and say real quick, just touch the back of any card, all right? So they'll touch one, maybe that one right there, and in the action of saying you could have had any one of these cards, just look for that pencil dot. In this case, this is right here, and as you close up the deck, just get a break below it, right? So as you close up, get a break below it, and say, remember your card. Obviously, you can't show that because that's not the force card. So what you do here is you have a break below the actual force card in the middle of the deck. All right, so when you come up to show them their card, just push this in. All right, so this is what's happening here without this deck in the way. So just remember your card, just push that in as you come up to show it, and it looks like it's the card they touched. So once again, we're here. Touch the back of any card, maybe that one right there, and you could have any one of these cards. So just look for your pencil dot. It's right here. As you close up, get a break below it. As you close up, do me a favor, remember your card. So we're here, just push that in as you come up to show them their card like this. But do that kind of quick so they can't see what's happening, right? So remember that card. I won't look, blah, 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 shuffle the deck, and that is the touch force. Okay, so let's pretend somebody's here and they're going to say stop for me, okay? So as I drop cards, just say stop anytime. Stop, I remember that card, I won't look, and then they look at the card. Now, you might recognize this force as the old psychological stop force by holding a break. You know, you have your break somewhere near the bottom of the deck. As soon as they say stop, you just cut to the break. Now, this force is different. It's surefire, and there's no outs. You just cut to it every time. And here's how you do that. You don't actually stop when they say stop. When they do say stop, you cut where you want to cut, right? But it feels like it still feels right. Okay, so what's going to happen here is this. So what's going to happen is that you want to position the force card about a quarter from the bottom of the deck, and you want to hold a break below it like this. So you have a break, let me get that for you. You have a break below the force card about a quarter or a third from the bottom right, like this. Now what's going to happen here is that you begin cutting small packets of card, like small packets, like a half dozen or so, like this, and you say, as I do this, just say stop. And so even if they say stop before you get to your break, they say stop here and say, okay, remember that card. Okay, so no matter where they say stop, you always just lift at the break. And if you do happen to get, when they say stop, if they haven't said stop yet and they say stop when you get the break, then that's perfect. You still hit that psychological force, so it's good practice if you want to do that force instead. But doing it this way, there's no way you can mess up. They say stop, stop, remember that card, and it still feels right, even though they showed them the card after the fact. I lifted at the break after they said stop. That's what makes it so good and so easy, and better, in my opinion, than the psychological version. Now, what I actually did in the performance when I showed you the demo is I used a top cutting breather. Earlier, we used a bottom cutting breather. So in this case, you want to make a top cutting breather. So just hold the card face up when you do the crimp this way. It's a top cutting breather. So when you have the force card on top of that breather crimp, and when you cut, you can just cut, and it'll be the face card of the packet. Okay, so this will go to the bottom of the deck. Your force card is above the top cutting breather like this, about a third of the way from the bottom like this, maybe a little bit more. So it's about right there, so you don't have to hold a break. Okay, so do me a favor, say stop as I do this. Stop right there. Okay, remember that card, I won't look. And it's I love that force.